Welcome to World Retail Congress 2016. Delighted to be with Dail, Chairman and CEO of JDA Software. What brings you to Dubai? Why are you most excited about coming to WRC this year, Bal?
Well, I think it's a couple of things for us, quite frankly. The first is just the quality of the other participants. I mean, for a company like ours, it's a great forum for us to network and get to know other people in this space, and a lot of the folks here are actually customers of JDA's already. And then the second thing is just the quality of the discussions. Obviously, as we think about serving our customers and developing our solutions, listening to some of the dialogue that we just heard is helpful for us to understand how the industry is changing, how the supply chain that serves that industry is changing, and therefore what we need to do differently. Okay,
and we've just come out of the first main session, and disruption, constant change, shifting consumers, the need to constantly adapt the business model has already come through, and no doubt that's going to continue this week. What does that mean for a business like you, and what are the attributes that retailers need to have to win tomorrow and today?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. I mean, first of all, given that the disruption is going to continue, I think a lot of retailers need to focus on three things. First is actually delivering the omni-channel experience to the consumer. We've talked a lot about the fact that the consumer's in charge and they know what they want to buy, when they want to buy it, how they want to buy it. And I think retailers need to be able to deliver on that omni-channel experience. The second is figuring out the business model, and in particular the role of the store. It's quite interesting that you're starting to see more of the folks who have physical stores move into the online space. You're seeing actually pure pay online move into the physical store space, and so everybody's sort of trying to figure out their business model and really what is the role of the store. Is it really for selling? Is it as a fulfillment center? Is it as a showroom? So I think that's the other piece. And then thirdly, I think it is this notion of how do you do omni-channel in the most profitable way possible. We see a lot of retailers who have an online presence and can actually fulfill orders and actually drive the top line, but what they're really weak on is doing it in the most profitable way possible.
Now that's not easy, is it? I mean, and constantly, and I think Bernie picked on it, being responsive and flexible in terms of the business model. Mm-hmm. How many retailers do you see are currently doing that, or is this a big mountain that the retail industry has got to climb?
Well, we actually just commissioned a survey by PwC where they interviewed global retailers and manufacturers, and we actually had the top 250 retailers in the world participate. And out of those 250, only 19 said that they had changed their business model and actually merged the physical and online channels together to profitably serve the customer. So think about that. Less than 20% of the most global retailers, the ones which, retailers that have the resources and the capability to do this, less than 20% have actually aligned their business model to capture the omni-channel opportunity in the most profitable way possible.
Yeah. And so there's a lot to do still.
Yep.
And again, the previous session talked about analytics, data capability. Is this a new skill set that the industry needs to learn, or is that knowledge already there in the execs, in the CEOs?
No, I think it's a skill they're going to have to learn. I think, as one of the participants said, the CEO of the future for a retailer is going to be very different than the CEO of the past, and I think analytics is going to be a core part of that. I mean, and I think the interesting thing with analytics is all these retailers are awash with data, right? I used to have a phrase which was, you can be data rich, information poor, but be insight starved. Right. And I think a lot of retailers today are insight starved. They have a lot of data, they just don't know what to do with it. And I think that's a huge opportunity for them, and I frankly think it's a huge opportunity for a company like ours to be able to take that data and do something meaningful with it.
Okay, good stuff. Let's talk a little bit about the region. So we're in Dubai. There's been a lot of talk this afternoon about the opportunities, the mindset of being able to service customers and to do things in a very open business environment. What advice do you give to businesses looking to enter and expand in UAE?
Well, I think the first thing is really understand the customer base, right? If you think about the UAE, I think nearly 50% of the folks in the UAE are immigrants, and about 50% of those immigrants are actually from India and Pakistan. Right? And so the UAE is a very, very diverse nation. So that's the first thing. The second thing I'd say is once you understand that customer base, you probably want to think about working with a partner as you enter into the UAE. If you look at a lot of the retailers who are already here, they actually came in through a franchisee model, because having that knowledge of the customer base is important, but then you also have to have a knowledge of the actual local environment. And so my advice to a lot of retailers would be, if you're going to come in, make sure you understand the customer, make sure you understand how what you provide fits that customer base, and then work with a partner to at least get established. And then over time, as you learn more, then maybe you can build some of your own capability.
Okay, great stuff. Why do you attend events like this? What do you get out of it as personally and as a business? And what are you most looking forward to over the next 2-3 days?
Well, for me personally, what I get out of it is a lot of knowledge. I get to spend a lot of time with my customers and potential customers. And for someone like myself, as I think about the strategy for JDA, obviously one of the biggest inputs would be input from our customers. So that's what I personally get out of it. I think for us as a business, it's really about understanding our customers, networking with our customers, understanding also how the industry is changing and how we need to adapt given those industry changes. And then obviously, hopefully we'll get something in terms of some business out of this as well. But really for us, it's more around just understanding how the world is changing.
And who are you most looking forward to hearing from on the stage?
Well, I'm going to be slightly biased because one of my colleagues tomorrow, Lee Gill, is actually going to be doing a session, and so that's probably the one I'm most looking forward to.
Apart from Lee then?
Apart from Lee. Well, actually, I thought the session that we just had was very, very informative in terms of just talking about the disruption that's going on in retail.
Yeah. And so if the organisers and Ian are planning next year, any advice on what sort of themes you think in a year's time we'll be looking at? Will it be the same? It's just going to be constantly?
Well, I think the interesting one, and we touched on it briefly in that session, is given we're going to constantly have this change in retail, and we've talked a lot about Omni-Channel, it would be interesting to start thinking about what are the next 2 or 3 disruptions on the horizon, right? Because if we're going to live in a world of constant change, it would be great to get some of the participants to talk about this is what's coming down the road.
Okay, great. Well, great to talk to you, Bail, and enjoy the rest of the week.
Thank you. Great to talk to you.